Hello and welcome to Nutrition in 5 Minutes. I'm your host Anita, and I'll be guiding you and my friend Lukasz through important nutrition topics. Today we'll be comparing genetics versus lifestyle and chronic disease risk. Before we begin, please pause to take a look at this medical advice disclaimer. Ready to get started on our topic, Lukasz?
Let's do it.
Let's start with some history. Back in 1900, the most deadly diseases were communicable, meaning they could spread from person to person. The top offenders were influenza and pneumonia, tuberculosis, and diarrhea/enteritis/ulcerative colitis. As the century progressed, so did our medical knowledge and tools, such as antibiotics. This caused heart disease, cancer, and stroke to take the top 3 spots towards the latter part of the century.
Whoa, the 2000 numbers look way higher than in 1900. What happened?
It's important to keep in mind these are total numbers, and our population has almost quadrupled since 1900, going from 76 million to 282 million in 2000.
Heart disease still looks pretty high, which is scary because it runs in my family and I'll probably get it too.
Well, not necessarily. Studies suggest that on average, 80% or more of our risk for today's major chronic diseases in the West can be attributed to non-genetic lifestyle factors such as diet, exercise, stress, sleep, and environment.
How was that determined?
One of the ways was observing some populations have 5 to 100 times the rates of cardiovascular diseases and major cancers.
Couldn't that just be due to genetics?
Genetics was ruled out because when people migrated, they would take on the disease risk of their new community.
That's nuts. Does that mean I should move to lower my heart disease risk?
What's most important is adopting the healthy habits that are keeping certain populations at lower risk.
Do we know what they are?
A growing body of evidence is narrowing in on what we can do to avoid certain diseases. Take a look at these graphs, for example. These data were taken from observational studies which tracked factors that allowed the participants to avoid certain diseases.
How is disease avoidance calculated?
The studies grouped individuals with the healthy lifestyle factors in a control group, monitoring the disease rates between the two. If the healthy lifestyle factors group had 1/10 the rate of type 2 diabetes as compared to the control group, for example, it was said to be 90% avoidable.
How can I tell if I'm at low risk for a certain disease?
One of the best ways is to monitor your biological markers, or biomarkers for short. We'll discuss biomarkers in detail in the biomarkers video.
Can we go over the healthy lifestyle factors and how to incorporate them?
Definitely. Let's mention the factors that aren't related to food before we hop into nutrition. They are physical activity equivalent to 30 minutes or more of brisk walking daily, no or moderate alcohol consumption,
Where's that wind coming from?
and no tobacco smoking.
Oh, it's from that guy flicking his cigarette. That makes sense.
Now let's spend some time on the nutritional factors. First, we'll talk about trans fat, saturated fat, and glycemic load. Although the FDA banned artificial trans fat in processed foods a few years ago, it can still exist in some baked and fried foods and some spreads. It can be found as partially hydrogenated oils on the ingredient list.
So as long as I stay away from those oils, I'm safe from trans fat?
It's also naturally present in meat and dairy products in appreciable quantities, so it's important to check into the foods you're eating to get the whole story. Saturated fat can be found in high quantities mainly in cheeses, creams, desserts, candies, processed coconut and peanuts, the skin on white meat, red meat, and some fake meats. Red meat was also one of the factors that was reduced or removed from the healthy factors group to achieve a lower risk of chronic disease. Glycemic load is how fast your body converts a food's carbohydrates into blood sugar based on serving size. Glycemic load can vary greatly from food to food, so it's best to look into them on an individual basis. The 5 healthy factors in the studies were polyunsaturated fats, omega-3s, cereal fiber, folic acid, and maintaining a healthy BMI or body weight. Polyunsaturated fats include omega-3s and omega-6s. Omega-3s, also known to some as fish oil, can be found in high quantities in some sea plants and fish, as well as some beans, nuts, and seeds like soybeans, walnuts, and flax seeds.
So I can get omega-3s in other places than fish?
You can, but the type of omega-3s from plants are less efficient than from fish, so you need a higher quantity. Omega-6s can also be found in the foods mentioned for omega-3s, with the addition of meat, poultry, eggs, and certain grains and oils. Cereal fiber is found in bran and whole wheat grains such as whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, barley, and brown rice. Folic acid is particularly abundant in beans, whole cereal grains, and dark green leafy vegetables.
Didn't you say something about my weight?
The final healthy factor was keeping a healthy BMI, or body weight. There are many studies and opinions on the best ways to maintain a healthy BMI, often including diet, exercise, sleep, stress, and environmental considerations. One nutrition strategy is to choose foods with low caloric density that are usually high in fiber and water content to be satiating without the overload of calories. In the end, your genetics play a role in your health, but you can feel empowered that your risk of chronic disease is mostly up to you and your lifestyle choices. I hope to see you all in our next Nutrition in 5 Minutes.